Hello, Hubbard. How are you doing? Right, got a special project today, one that I'm a little bit nervous about. So, this coming weekend, I am going to be going to the Festival of Quilts at the NEC. And I'm so excited, I can't tell you. I've been once before with my mum. I can't remember if it was 2023 or 2024. I know we didn't go in 2025, that's for sure. But yeah, ever since I went, I've wanted to go back. And I'm going on Saturday. And so, for this momentous occasion, I've decided I'm going to make myself something to wear. So, it's coming up to the end of July now in the UK. It's still way too hot, incredibly hot. We have these kind of peaks and troughs, but overall, it's too hot. And those of you who have been here before will know by now that I am just always wearing pants, always wearing jeans or cargos, or that's my uniform really. I don't ever really wear anything other than pants or trousers. So I want to wear a dress to the Festival of Quilts. Now, funnily enough, not that long ago, about 2 weeks ago-ish, there or thereabouts, I went to a charity shop and picked up a dress that I absolutely fell in love with. And here it is. It was in near perfect condition. I mean, it was clear. It's clear from the design. It's got to have been probably a 90s dress, just from the style of the dress and the pattern. I think it's got a pretty 90s vintagey kind of look. But yeah, it was in near perfect condition. So I obviously put it in the wash, and the first time I wore it last week, I got a hole in it. And I was absolutely devastated because I really love the dress. I love the shape. It fits me well. It's quite flattering because I'm quite a lumpy, bumpy kind of gal, and it just hides all of that. So I'm going to be using this dress as a pattern. It's pretty straightforward. I've looked at how it's constructed. There's not even any darts in it at the bust or anything. It looks pretty okay. So yeah, I'm not going to take this dress apart. I'm just going to lay it flat on the table and kind of trace around it. I'm a little bit nervous. But because it's for the Festival of Quilts, I'm going to go one extra and make it out of patchwork. So rather than just one single piece of fabric, I've got to actually make the fabric first before I can make the dress. So I've been through all my scraps, and you probably won't be terribly surprised to learn that I want to use up the last of the batik scraps that I have that I used to make my pentagram quilt, which you will have seen in previous videos. But yeah, I still have, there's not loads left anymore, but I still have some scraps of batik fabric. In fact, let me come a little bit closer to you and show them off on camera, because there's some gorgeous colours here, some really rich purples and pinks and blues, right up my street really. So yeah, I'm going to use up those scraps. Obviously that's not going to be enough fabric for a whole dress. So I've also got some plain teal fabric. This is all 100% cotton, by the way, and some plain pink fabric, which is part of the quilt, the first ever quilt that I made that hangs over the back of my sofa, the one with the little houses on. Again, if you've been here before, you've seen that one. So I think those colours go quite well with the palette. And then I've also got, from another charity shop haul at the shed, some extra fabric, which is denim, very, very thin denim. Not stretchy in any way, which is good because I don't want it to be a conflicting fabric from the rest of the scraps. And it's literally 2 panels of, clearly this was a pair of jeans at some point, and somebody took apart the jeans and got 2 great big panels of denim. So along with these big panels of denim and all of these scraps, and I've got some extra black and white fabric as a backup for just in case it doesn't go perfectly with the colours. But if I absolutely have to use any extra fabric, I have got this on standby. So yeah, I thought you might want to just hang out and watch me have a go at making a dress. This dress has pockets. Let me just flip it inside out and show you. It does, however, have the tiniest, meagerest, most useless little pockets I've ever seen in all my life. There we are. Can't even fit my hands in those pockets. So I am going to be putting pockets in my version, but they're going to be much bigger, and they're going to at least enable me to fit my hands inside. So I've had a little think about how I want to construct the fabric. And what I think I've decided on is stitch it together, obviously, stands to reason, just with a running stitch along the seam. But then I'm thinking if I press the seams open, so after I've done the running stitch, if I press the seam open and just do a zigzag stitch over the seam, that's going to help it lie really flat, because obviously I'm going to have lots of points at which fabric joins in two different directions. And yeah, this is going to be a dress that I'm going to wear hopefully quite a lot if it works. And I want it to last. I want it to be able to wash and wear quite well. So having that double stitching, I think is going to help. I don't know. Anyway, shall I stop faffing about talking and just get into it? Let's do it. So my first step is going to be ironing all of my scraps. I have cut them roughly into rectangle shapes. I put all this through the washing machine, by the way. All of the fabric that I'm going to use, I put in the same wash cycle. I think it was 40 degrees a few days ago. Again, just to make sure that it all shrank at the same rate. So it's all been shrunk up, it's all washed. It's all cut roughly into rectangles of various different sizes. So I'm going to iron them all. I'm going to cut them a little bit more neatly, get a new blade in my rotary cutter. Actually, that's one thing I'm really excited about buying from the Festival of Quilts next weekend. I'm desperate to get myself a decent rotary cutter, because I keep, well, not investing in particularly decent ones, and I just go for the cheap option, and this is about the third now that just keeps falling apart on me. So yeah, I'm excited to get a new rotary cutter for projects like this. But anyway, enough whittering. I'm going to crack on and you're just going to watch. Fingers crossed this is going to work. All right, see you in a bit.
Hello, Editing Ros here. Just jumping in to give a little bit of a disclaimer. If you happen to catch my last video, which wasn't really very crafty at all, you'll know that something quite big happened to me recently. Something very unexpected, and something that explains why I am actually making a dress in the middle of the week. I thought I'd wake up on the first Monday after departing, feeling invigorated, excited, full of joy, because I've got all the time in the world to do whatever it is that I want. But truth be told, I just feel a bit weird. It was a very emotional week last week, saying goodbye to people who I probably really wasn't ready to say goodbye to. So, yeah, I'm not quite myself, and you'll see that throughout this video. I am going to piss and moan a lot about how hot I am, about how tired I am, about how old I feel. All of those things are very much true. And while I am incredibly grateful in many, many ways that I now feel I have choices, like some doors might start opening for me, and that purpose might not be so far away, while I'm grateful for all of that, I'm also just feeling a bit meh. So yeah, please bear with me throughout this video. I'm going to try my best to explain what I'm doing at certain junctures, but whether or not it's particularly articulate, polished, professional, well, let's be clear, that's not me at any time, is it really? Anyway, I just wanted to pop in and explain why I might feel a bit flat on screen when you're watching this. It's really okay because the dress worked out in the end. Spoiler. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to go now and let in real life Roz carry on trying to explain how she made this dress. See you in a bit.
So, like with most of my projects here at MakeDoMend, I'm not using a particularly professional approach here. Oh, there's got to be an easier way, but I can't seem to work in a tidy way. I work in chaos. So I don't have the luxury of being able to lay the dress flat on the table just yet. That's what I'm going to do when I come to actually drafting a pattern. I think I'm going to try and draft a pattern onto greaseproof paper from the dress and then use the pattern to cut the fabric. But for now, I'm just making the fabric. And to make sure I've got enough, what I'm doing is making big long strips. I don't think I mentioned, I might have put a voiceover on in the edit, that I thought the quickest and easiest way for me to produce these strips would be to cut the fabric to the exact width of my ruler, because then I haven't got to worry about measuring and going off and yeah. I'm cutting strips to the width of my ruler, which is 6 inches, and whatever length I've got of the fabric, I want it to be quite random. And so at the moment I'm just making long strips. And then what I've started doing is pinning those strips onto the dress itself is here, hung up on a coat hanger. And I'm just pinning the strips kind of in place. Because obviously the dress, it's A-line, it's much larger at the bottom than it is at the top. So I will need to make additional strips to cover these side pieces, but I don't need them to be the whole length of the dress. That makes sense. Yeah, I'm just getting a rough idea of how much fabric I need to cover one side of the dress. I've pretty much used up all of the denim now. No, one piece of denim. I've got one full piece left, but I've used up a single piece. And I haven't had to crack into the plain teal or pink or the backup fabric. And I've still got plenty of the batik scraps. So fingers crossed I can make the whole thing just using patches of denim broken up with a patch of batik, with a patch of denim, and just use those fabrics. That's my hope. But yeah, there's quite a bit of flare left in that A-line at the bottom. I'm not making any sense now. I'm going to crack on, but hopefully it gives you a little bit of a feel for what I'm doing. I'll see you in a bit.
So you'll know if you've been here before that MakeDoMend has its roots in mental health, promoting mental health, making things, crafting, producing art, getting out of our head and into our hands so that we can just start feeling a little bit better. It's never been one for forcing myself to do something, to make something, if I'm not really in the mood for it. I think that's a little bit counterintuitive. If we're already frustrated before we even start making the thing, it's probably not going to go well. But that thought of waking up on the Monday morning, my first one being out of work for many, many years, and having nothing to do, God, that felt even more terrifying. So I decided to make this dress.
I'm joining the columns in the exact way that I pieced the columns together. I've done a straight running stitch, a 1/4 inch seam. I've pressed that seam open, I made effort to make sure that I pressed everything, gave everything a really, really good press as I'm joining bits together, because I want it to be as flat as possible for when I am ready to cut into the fabric, which is terrifying because it's taking so long to piece it together. And then I've got to cut it up, but that's okay. Around here at MakeDoMend, we do the scary things, don't we? Right, I'll crack on. See you in a bit.
I'm watching back in the edit. I've come to see making this dress as a bit of a metaphor, really. It's quite emblematic of other things that are going on in my life, in that I've taken a long time to piece something together. It's taken many, many years to piece together a career, working my way up, working my way through some really hard times, and now I'm cutting into it. All of those seams, all of those hours, perfecting, getting better and better, and overcoming each new hurdle as I find it, just to take a pair of scissors and cut into the whole lot. It's very, very strange, very scary, but it's got to be done. Anyone who enjoys sewing and loves fabric knows that fear intimately. You've got this beautiful, pristine piece of fabric, and it's gorgeous as it is. You just want to sit and look at it and admire it. But it's never really going to fulfill its purpose until you take a pair of scissors to it and cut it into little tiny pieces. I'm not just cutting into one single piece of fabric. I've got loads and loads of scrap pieces that I've collected over the last 46 years. 46 years of happy memories and joyful moments and insecurities. Nearly 21 years of motherhood. More than 10 years of building a career in a very specific sector. I've got lots and lots of beautiful pieces that I'm joining together and taking the scissors to. And it's a lot for this poor, middle-aged, perimenopausal, addled little brain to work through. Because one wrong cut, and the whole lot's buggered, unusable. But likewise, if it just stays as one single flat piece of fabric all woven together, it's just not fulfilling its purpose. By the way, you might notice from what you're seeing on screen here that my sewing machine is choosing violence at the moment. The thread keeps snapping. I don't know what's going wrong. It could be to do with the fact that I've had the machine for about 3 or 4 years and haven't once opened the user's manual to make sure that I'm actually threading it correctly. That'd be far too easy. So every now and then you'll see me just trying to work the knotted, snapped thread out of the machine and thread it back up again. Oh. There's probably another very profound metaphor in there somewhere, but I don't want to get too philosophical today. This is meant to be a nice, cosy little crafting video. So I'm going to shut up and let In Real Life Roz crack on again for a bit.
So, as with most things that I make over here at MakeDoMend, this seems to be taking far longer than I anticipated. When I started this morning, I don't know why, call me mad, but I genuinely thought I'd have a finished dress by the end of today. I've been doing this for hours and hours, but I have got as far as making 2 vaguely dress-shaped pieces of fabric that are pieced together. So that is the back piece. Got the little added extra doohickey bit for where the original dress pattern flares out. If I can just kind of place that on there to show you. So yeah, that's the back bit. And then for the front, we've got this piece here, which has got a big strip of fabric down the centre that isn't broken up at all, because I just thought it might be useful to have somewhere for the eye to rest. Not that it's very restful, because it's very highly colourful, but I love it so far. I'm really pleased with the fabric. I just hope to God I can turn it into a dress. So I've got some research to do this evening, I think. Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to make a pattern on paper, I think, using the dress. So I'm thinking I might starch the original dress, give it a really, really good press, and then fold it in half lengthways and cut a pattern doing it that way, rather than one big dress shape piece. Just do a half. I think that's how you make patterns anyway, so that you place the straight edge on the fold of the fabric. I don't know, I'm totally winging this. I did say a couple of videos ago that I really wanted to learn how to make clothes and follow dress patterns properly. Clearly I'm not following any kind of a pattern properly. But yeah, I want to figure out how to do the interface around the collar, around the neckline. I'm pretty sure I know how to do it, but I just want to watch a video or two again just to be sure. Yeah, I was able to make the dress fabric solely using the batik and the denim. Didn't have to break into the teal or the pink or any of all that nonsense. So the teal is what I'm going to use to do the interfacing around the neckline, because I don't have as much of that. And then the pink is what I'm going to use to make some really big pockets that I can hopefully get my hand all the way down into. But yeah, that's tomorrow's adventure, because it is still absolutely baking. It's getting late. It's early evening now. I'm perishing starving. But yeah, that was a good day's work. So I'll catch up with you tomorrow. Maybe I'll finish it then. I don't know. I don't know how long this thing's going to take. No idea. But I'll see you tomorrow anyway. It's the next day. I'm feeling a little bit better than I was yesterday, but still a bit grotty. I hope I'm not coming down with something. I got really excited when I first got up this morning, because I got up quite early, excited to work on this dress. Excuse me. So yeah, I was up at the crack of dawn, walked down to the corner shop before 8 o'clock this morning, and I thought, I think it's finally cooled down. It feels like a bearable temperature. But then I realised that it was only 8 o'clock in the morning, and then it's probably going to warm up again later. But anyway, I really want to try and get as much of this dress done as I can before it gets too hot. I think that's what's getting to me, to be honest. Being perimenopausal and changing your hormone replacement therapy, it'll do that to you. It'll kick your ass when it's this hot. But anyway, I digress. So what have I done since yesterday? So yesterday I left off with having finished piecing together the fabric, the back and front panel for the dress, which took way longer than I thought it would. What I've done since then is give the dress a really good press, folded it exactly in half, made sure that I measured halfway at the bottom edge, halfway at the neckline, folded it in half and gave it a good press. And now what I've done is lie some greaseproof paper on top of the dress. I had to stick a little piece here, as you can see, because obviously the A-line dress, it's wider basically at the bottom than the piece of paper. Now I use greaseproof paper for making patterns. It sounds like I make patterns all the time. I've made one pattern before, but yeah, I use this good old greaseproof paper. And one thing that I've found is that it just repels tape. I've used sellotape, parcel tape, masking tape. I've tried all the tapes, and it just doesn't stick very well. So I think if I am going to, moving forward, if I am going to have a go at making more patterns and making more clothing, I'm going to have to rethink greaseproof, because if I need to join paper together, it just doesn't stick very well. If you have any ideas, please put them in the comments. I'd really love to know what I can use. Anyway, so the next step is to trace around the dress, trace the exact shape as closely as I can onto the paper, and then add a seam allowance after. I need to redraft a pattern for the pockets, because the pockets in this dress are tiny. I can't even fit my hands in them. So I'm just going to take the shape of the opening. The opening's big enough, it's in a perfect position on the dress, but I need to make the pocket bag itself a bit bigger. I'm going to have to make some interfacing pieces for the neckline, which is something I've never done before, so that's going to be fun. And I think my order of operations, what I'm going to do after I have cut out all the pieces, I am going to attach the interfacing to the collars first. Then I'm going to join the dress at the shoulder seam. Then I'm going to use bias binding. Managed to pull this out of my thrift bag from a couple of videos ago. Some purple bias binding around the edges of the armholes. Is that the right word? Armholes. They're not really sleeves. Yeah, armholes. Anyway, so I'm going to bias bind in those rather than trying to interface those as well, because the shoulder seam isn't very wide, and if I've got quite a thick piece of interfacing for the collar and for the armhole, it's going to get really bulky on the shoulder seam. That's my thinking. So yeah, I'm going to bias bind the armhole while it's still in one flat piece, just joined at the shoulders. Then I'm going to put the pockets in to the sides, and then I'm going to do the side seams, and then the hem along the bottom. That kind of feels logical. Oh God, I'm getting really nervous. Anyway, enjoy.
I learn a lot about myself as I go through life, through different phases, collecting different scraps of fabric. This little YouTube adventure is proving to be a really interesting and enjoyable textural piece to weave into my tapestry. One of the many, many things that being a YouTube content creator is teaching me, besides patience, is that I talk a lot. I have a propensity to fill silence. I just can't sit comfortably with quiet. But I'm going to try, because it's probably a little bit annoying listening to me ramble on the whole time. So what I'm going to do instead is just play some lovely music for you for a couple of minutes. It won't be my first preference as a backing track. I have to make do with the royalty-free music that's available on Clipchamp, I'm afraid. I really do love music, and if you've been here before, you'll know that. You'll know that for nearly all of my videos, I make a Spotify playlist to accompany, so that you can listen along while you're crafting and making to the same music that's inspired me while I've been making and crafting. Well, I haven't pulled together a Spotify playlist this time because I've had other things on my mind. But I did discover a new band over the weekend that I really want to share with you. Established in 2024, Port London is a Los Angeles-based collective operating at the intersection of alternative hip-hop, alt-rock and electronic music. Comprised of multidisciplinary artists with roots in music, visual art and storytelling, the collective distinguishes itself through a bold visual identity and genre-bending sound that resonates across a range of audiences. For the last few days, I've just been listening to the This Is Port London playlist that Spotify's already created on repeat again and again. I just really enjoy it. It's almost like an auditory version of a patchwork quilt. Lots and lots of different pieces all pieced together in a way that you wouldn't expect to work, but it really kind of does. Anyway, I can't play you any Port London on this YouTube video because copyright. I don't even know if I can get copyright struck if I'm not a monetized channel, but I'm certainly not going to chance it. So let me try and find something that matches the mood of the video.
Oh, are you okay? Sorry, love. So I've sewn a piece of medium weight interfacing into a piece of the teal cotton that I'm going to use for the neckline. And now I'm going to trace my interfacing pattern pieces onto it. I think I then have to do a bit of a stay stitch, zigzag stitch or something around the bottom edge of the interfacing pieces. I haven't got serger or overlocker, so I'll have to improvise that. And I also think it's recommended to do a little row of stay stitches around the edge of the neckline on the dress, just to give it a little bit of stability so I'm not stretching it out when I'm trying to force the curves together. So I might do that as well. Yes, let's do all of that. All right. Okay. Well, let's do them stay stitching bits that I thought about. And then I'm going to have a little rest before I do anything else. Ooh. Try and cool down a tad. So I've literally just, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it very well. I've done a very, I've used very small stitches. Goodness me, very tiny stitches, less than 1/4 of an inch from the edge of the neckline, and just gone all the way around it, just to give it a little bit of stability. Because again, when I come to sew the interfacing in, and I've got to force 2 curves together, I can't afford for any error, really. So I'm going to do that on the front piece as well. Do the bottom edges of the interfacing bits with a zigzag stitch, and yeah, go and have a cuppa. I got a little bit carried away before I went off for my coffee, and I went ahead and fixed the interfacing into the front panel of the dress. I was meant to show you how I did it, but I haven't done the back one yet, so I can show you how. The front one worked. I'm quite amazed. It's a little bit puckered on the inside. Not perfect, but it looks great on the outside. It's really nice and clean, which is just what I wanted. So let me show you what I did. Again, this is not a tutorial. I have made a tiny little playlist of videos that I have watched to help me through this process of making the dress. So yeah, check out those tutorials in the playlist linked below. But basically, fronts together, so front of the dress panel with the front of the interfacing, and match them up. Oh, I never remember to switch my other phone onto airplane mode when I'm filming. You can guarantee I'm always going to get a notification or a call the second I hit record. What fun. Anyway, so I've clipped that in, and now I'm literally going to sew 1/4 inch following that lovely curve. Let's clip that there actually. I've gone around the curve. I'm not the best in the world at sewing around curves, but pretty good. It's a pretty fair 1/4 inch all the way. And then once you've done that, you flip it as like so. And now we're going to sew down that raw edge against the inside of the interfacing, just to stitch it down so that when we put the dress on, the interfacing doesn't try and plop out of the top. So let's do that. Okay, so it's in, and you flip it the right way, give it a press, and hey presto, looking pretty darn good if I say so myself. Oh, sweaty. Right, now I'm going to go and join the, I'm going to press that back, I'm going to join the shoulder seams together. About all that. Yeah, let me just check to make sure this thing definitely fits over my head. It does. That interfacing is a bit stiff. Oh, God, it's dark. But I think with under the wash, that will settle down anyway. Bit of wash and wear. Right, so next, I'm going to bias bind all the way around the armholes. So I'm not going to do a stay stitch around the edge of the armholes first. I'm just going to go for it. Hopefully I won't stretch out the fabric too much. We shall see. One adventure. Oh, It's working. My goodness me. Wonders never cease. Oh, gorgy, gorgy, gorgy. Yeah, so that's my armhole. Do the same around the other one. Then I'm going to put my pockets in along the edges. I'm going to sew it all up. Keep telling you the same thing again and again. I'm sorry about it. Oh my God, have I got enough of this binding to go around the other armhole? Imagine if I haven't. Oh, I have. Oh my God. That was close though. Should have checked that before I started. Typical me. Turns out I had a few little mini crises while I was making this dress. Far too many to include in the edit. There were times when I realised I'd cut the fabric a little bit too scant, so I had to sew in some random patches. There were times, as aforementioned, where my machine decided it just didn't want to sew and just kept snapping thread. It was really frustrating. Also been a little bit frustrating trying to edit this video because just like with fabric, I didn't know which bits to leave in, which bits to cut away and leave on the floor. Didn't know what was of value and what wasn't really. Life can be a bit like that, can't it? Sometimes we realise that we need to patch up some holes. Sometimes we realise that we need to sew over the same line again because we thought we were stitching and the machine just wasn't working. It can be frustrating piecing together a life out of all of these remnants that you collect along the way. Frustrating, but rewarding and pretty damn beautiful. Now, talking of the edit, this video is already so long, probably my longest yet. I know I say that every time, but honestly, I am running the risk of completely boring the pants off you right now. So I'm going to try and whiz through the rest. Like I say, I have got a couple of videos linked in a little mini playlist down in the description below. There's one that shows you how to put pockets in that was really, really easy to follow. So yeah, watch those tutorials before you watch what I'm doing here if you want to make a dress of your own. And I'll see you when this thing's done. Well, here it is. Pretty much all finished. I haven't done the hem at the bottom yet because I was debating what to do. For some reason I thought that the original dress was a lot shorter than this. I thought it was mid-calf length. And so when I cut the fabric to the size of the pattern without leaving enough for a hem, I was really panicking, but actually it's quite long. And I think I do want it a little bit shorter, so I can afford to roll the hem a couple of inches and just sew it. So that's what I'm going to do. But yeah, here it is. Let me get a little bit closer, see if I can show you in all its glory. So obviously I've got the interfaced collar, which is not perfect. The interfacing stuff that I used is a little bit too thick. I probably should have used a slightly thinner one, and I've got plenty of a slightly thinner one, so I don't know why I didn't, but anyway, it's fine. With a couple of washes it'll settle. But yeah, it fits quite nice. It's pretty flush. It was at the exact moment that my camera died, which I really think is the universe trying to tell me this video is long enough. So I'm going to go now. Thank you so much for bearing with me. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for being here. Come back again. Join the hub. MakeDoMend. Love you, Bab.